happen to be here with Aldo, who's in charge and runs the Cars and Coffee here in Waterset, which is a local phenomenon, which is kicking butt here and is a free event. He's going to tell you all about it. Hold tight.
Guys, my name is Aldo. I run the Waterset Cars and Coffee every second Saturday of the month from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. We're here every second Saturday of the month at the landing in Waterset.
What's it cost, Aldo?
Nothing. Here's the only thing I'm going to ask.
There you go.
Like cool cars, cool motorcycles. It doesn't matter if it's a classic, an exotic. It doesn't matter what it is. Come here. We need cool cars and cool people. If you're cool, you got to come over here.
You're welcome here.
Second Saturday of the month. Check it out. We have the food truck. We have White Claw. We have the vendors. Free coffee. We always have everything.
I love the Aki. You know I'm a Honda guy.
Yes, yes. So check out the Acura NSXs, the Cybertruck, everything. And guys, follow us. Follow us, Waterset Cars and Coffee, in Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Waterset Cars and Coffee every second Saturday of the month, 8 to 10 a.m. Have a great day, guys.
Check them out on South Shore Live, too.
Boom.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to South Shore Live, our vodcast, right? Video podcast.
There you go.
I'm stealing Howard's thunder just because, it's because.
Because I'm trying to figure out something you asked me 2 seconds ago, and I just can't remember. My memory is kind of shot today. So we are here in beautiful Apollo Beach, Florida. We want to thank everyone for watching. We want to ask you to tell your friends to join, like, share, because tonight's episode is about you being able to take care of your house during the inevitable storm time we're going to have here in Apollo Beach. Whether it's big or small, it's going to happen. So we're going to invite everybody, shout out a few people who support the show right off the bat. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please have them lined up, and Teo will be here ready to answer them. We have John Starr here from Steadfast Roofing, and, of course, Pro Screen Joe in the house. And they're going to give you their take as well on what happens in the aftermath. And if you don't know a few guys like this, it might be a good time to meet a few guys like this, because when the chaos is happening, it's too late.
Well, and it's a matter of, like in our neighborhood, and even Waterset, every time you walked in, there were shingles everywhere on the debris field. And
hold on, I'll tell you, we got a few more things we're going to talk about. We got to first shout out Joanne Duran, who's doing the coaching.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's running the show in the house. We have Cole. We have our friend Kim Lebesky from We Insure Insurance, and trust me, a good person to know when everything goes floating down the street.
Yep.
Now, the part of the show which is a little dicey for us is the disclaimer. Joe, am I even in the picture here? I'm not even in the picture here. Fix me, please. I feel like the announcer at the game show. Good evening, everybody.
And anyway, so
here's our disclaimer.
Yeah, so this is our opinion and not necessarily the opinion of anybody else on the show, or anybody watching the show. But don't blame us if shit goes awry on our advice or what we talk about. This is our own personal
opinion
deal, and our own experiences and all of that. So we
are not responsible, or the person running the show, or anyone. These are our opinions, and the host and anyone that we shout out in the show, you can't sue them. Okay, it's just that simple.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of people who help us on the show, and always support the show either in here. We'll go over that later. But again, the disclaimer is we're here to help, but not to do for you unless you hire someone to do for you. And also in this commentary, there are a few different ways to go about this. You can literally hire a company to come into your place, prep your home, and leave.
Yep.
If you want to do that, you're more than welcome to. There are companies who do that and specialize in that. However, most people don't. And this show is set up tonight for you to get an idea about hurricane preparedness. Teo has been through many of these. I've met this gentleman because of it, and I've known this gentleman because of it. Yep. And this is the part of the show that I will turn over to Captain Teo, my co-host for almost a year right now.
Absolutely. So, we had 2 hurricanes back to back, which is pretty rare. And over the years, I have given advice on preparing for a hurricane, and I have to laugh because people on Facebook, when I was doing the original stuff, they're like, well, who made you the fucking expert? And my buddy goes, dude, he went through Hugo in 89, flipped his boat twice, came back, his house was gone. It took 3 days for us to find out where the house was.
Where's the house?
I kind of know a little bit about this stuff, right? I have more miles on my boat than most people. I have more miles at the helm of a boat sailing in the open ocean than most people have in their car. Well, maybe not you guys because you're going customer to customer. But
dude, where's my house?
But yeah, I mean, we tried to outrun it. We actually got in a big fight. We were in St. Thomas and we were in a big fight. I was anchored and I was living on my boat in St. John, and my friends are in St. Thomas, and they're like, dude, let's stay. And I'm like, dude, your house is like a palapa with glass, like palm fronds and glass. I'm like, no, I go, let's try to get the hell out of here. And needless to say, we were a couple 100 miles out, and we rolled the boat twice. And when we came back, where I would have anchored my boat, it would have been gone. The boat would have been scattered all over the island in multiple pieces. And, everything was gone. I was one of the few people that had water because I had a water maker and I had plenty of fuel. And we had set up extension cords to run power tools and charge shit there with my generator. So we'd run the generator, and it would be, people are like, oh, I'm like, no, you don't get it. You have all your wood marked, and when that saw stops, that saw stops, and if there's silence for 2 seconds, we're freaking shutting the generator off because it could be months before we get stuff back. So my experience comes from being in the islands during this stuff originally, but I go through and I have friends that were professional adjusters and insurance adjusters, et cetera, and, know a lot about that. So over the years, I've always been a big fan of this time of year before the storm, grab your phone. Back then I used to use a video camera, and we go through and go room by room and video everything slowly. We also call out the names and the brands of the items. And I would go through drawer by drawer and, pull out the silverware, and it's, these are Cutco knives, or these are Westhoff. And, you pull out your clothes in your closet and you go, okay, these are Tommy Bahama, these are Columbia, because, they're going to the insurance. And we ran into this with the dickhead on ours is, our $4,900 sofa that we bought when Stacy started chemo, they were like, okay, it's $199. Because it's a sofa to a sofa, and a sofa at Big Lots. Well, we had to fight for all that kind of stuff. So number one on the advice is, it's the start of the season. It's hot as fuck outside. Take an hour and go through your house and take pictures and videos, because even when we had all the flooding and we took pictures of everything that got ruined,
1,700 pictures.
We had 1,700 pictures, and we missed a ton of stuff because so many people were helping out. I'm like, don't throw anything away unless I get a picture of it. And of course, we missed pictures. I'm like, where's all the pictures from the bottom kitchen cabinets? We didn't have it, but I had the video to walk through and list all those items. And in the end, I had $179,000 worth of items that were destroyed in the last hurricane. Now, I didn't have insurance for all of that, but I had the ammo. So a month and a half ago, we finally got our check from insurance. So
In
take a
return,
video, upload it to Dropbox, upload it to OneDrive, upload it to wherever, iCloud. And by the way, break it into room by room, because insurance is going to be a dick about each room. And so do it, walk in, like if we were going into the studio, you walk through and it's all the stuff you don't think about. We have a power cord. We have the cords for the monitors. We have the monitors. We have the keyboards. We have the tripods. We have the boom stands, right? You have to just panorama and go slowly through stuff, and then stop and save that file, then go into the bathroom. You'd be amazed at how much crap is under that bathroom cabinet.
Yep.
Your Band-Aids, your antiseptic stuff, hydrogen peroxide, et cetera. And by the way, people go, well, I'm not going to get that nitpicky fighting with insurance. Well, you know what? Fuck them. You have to, because if you don't,
they're going to do it with you.
They came in through my house, and I don't remember the number. I think they originally said the cost to totally rebuild my house from the waist down was $60,000 and $8,000 for everything in my house they had to replace. My damn toolboxes were $8,000, So because of that, you have to go on the offensive. So step one, inventory and picture everything in your house. Open up every closet door. Look under the beds. We had wrapping paper and coats and all that kind of stuff, and call out the labels, because if you got a video that shows you had a Burberry scarf, dude, that's $320. It's different than $1.99 at frickin' Walmart, okay, or CVS or Walgreens on clearance with your 8,000 foot long roll of coupons.
Now, what about the outside of the place?
Same with the outside. Because you don't think about the planters, the flowers, all that kind of stuff, and that
they get wasted.
And just stupid things like, they insurance offered me, I think it was $1,600 for my front door, and yet the quotes from everybody was $20,000 to $35,000 for my front door, because I have a double door with side lights, and that has to all be up to code. So take photos and pictures of everything and do it every year. And I didn't run into a big deal with like the serial numbers on the computers and stuff like that. I mean, they asked for them, but I'm just like, they were custom. But document everything. And if you have
We're live, but we're not streaming through StreamYard.
Okay.
just look on the screen.
Oh,
Okay.
wow, check that out.
So I guess we're still live, but there's a problem with the stream. So if you're watching us, comment. Okay, so we're back on. Sorry about that. So
Mother Nature.
One of the things I hadn't thought about is testing my waterproof bags. I have a bunch of dive bags and boat bags, and I have stuff that's a ditch bag, and it has it's got my Rambo knife with the fishing line and that kind of stuff, right? Matches, it has extra batteries, some LED stuff, lights and things like that. I have my Wills, my Trust, and whatever. And it's a duffel bag that's waterproof. It wasn't waterproof at the end. I had my other stuff in the safe that was a waterproof safe. And I had put that up. I walked through when there's a storm coming. I walked through and I set up tables throughout my house, those white tables from Sam's Club or whatever, I got like 8 of them. So I wait till the last minute to put everything up on top of the tables. Well, I had a bunch of stuff in tubs throughout the house because my father-in-law, we brought down to put in a nursing home. And so we had the stuff from his, right? So all the family photographs and all that stuff were in the tubs. Well, the tubs floated. They cruised around. They got underneath the tables. They flipped the tables upside down. So all that heirloom stuff that we had up out of the water ended up in the water. And so we have to redo wills and stuff like that because I don't have the original documents anymore. So photocopy that stuff. I thought I was more prepared, but document all your insurance stuff and understand what your deductibles are and your terms. If you don't know, reach out to your insurance agent and get clarification on that stuff.
Or simply just to make sure that you're up to date. You could be expired on your policy and not even know it.
Well, it's not that if you have a mortgage, but the other thing to realize is people don't know, they don't realize there's an additional deductible for a named storm, right? I mean, you run into that in the roofing deal where your insurance deductible is quite a bit more for a hurricane on the wind side than it is for a normal, if you have a fire or something like that.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see here. Collie, how you doing?
Hey, Collie. Now, Collie, just to let you know, he's on the East Coast and he gets hammered. He's the he is the other guy. The storm is coming on the East Coast, friend of mine.
Yeah.
And he either tells me 3 hours if we're getting a storm, or I tell him in 3 hours he's getting a storm. We actually met at a concert. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
He has a shirt. You know what, Collie? You're going to get another shirt. And we're going to talk about our shirts in a minute. We're going to take a break and come on back, and we're going to tell you what you guys should be buying now before you go to the store and they don't have anything. So give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. Thanks, and tell your friends to watch.
South Shore, where the sun shines, golf carts roam, and accidents happen. But your roof, that should be the least of your worries. Steadfast Roofing brings you the best roofing systems, providing you protection even against the toughest storms. For a roof that stands strong through anything, choose Steadfast. Get the protection you deserve. Call now for your free inspection.
Everybody, this is Howard from South Shore Live, and we've got these fantastic shirts available at the Co-op at Apollo Beach. My slogan, good morning, don't be a shitty person, along with a fantastic logo in the back. We've got 5 or 6 different types, all different colors, and we're keeping it simple. Buy them at the local Co-op, and messages will tell you how to get them. Thanks, everyone. Good morning, don't be a shitty person.
Life's an illusion. This vodka's real. Dare to be amazed? So smooth it's scary that just looking through this bottle may make you a little tipsy. And with a wave of your hand, you become the magician, changing 20s into hundreds. And with a wave of your spectator's hand, you can make them scream in fear. Illusion Vodka truly is so smooth it's scary. I wrote it on every bottle. Illusion Vodka 6 times distilled, 10 times filtered, made with a Midwestern winter wheat by a real master distiller who's been making vodka for over 50 years. If you'd like to become the life of your next big gathering, click the link now and buy today. Illusion Vodka, so smooth as scary. Dare to be amazed?
MF Barbecue. Tasty, juicy, delicious. Ribs, brisket, and pork. Slow smoked overnight to be done fresh for you Thursdays to Sundays, right here in the South Shore area. Based out of Riverview, we are most often located at the Shell gas station at the corner of McMullen and Boyette Road. But since we are a food truck, we're mobile. Catch us at places like Flooring Master, Peter Ford, or Cigars on the Boulevard. Or even have us cater your next big event, from a graduation party to a birthday, or really just for the hell of it. Come hang out and try a special for the week, such as brisket chili or Texas Twinkies, and maybe even meet a special guest. Find us on Facebook and Google.
Hey, we're back here in South Shore, Florida, which encompasses Apollo Beach, Ruskin, Waimama, Adamsville, Gibtown, and Apollo Beach proper. And I'm here with Captain Teo Leonard, Sun City, my friend John Starry, and of course, Precious Green Joe here, hanging out tonight, talking about the things that you should be worried about when we're going to get this inevitable storm, and everyone's going to lie to you, and you've got to decide when to leave, if to leave, pack your house up. That's all on you. However, if you would like a little bit of advice, reach out. I've known Teo from his videos online. Every time the storm is, he's usually in his hot tub or in the ocean.
Yep.
That being said, this is a preparatory early on here at Apollo Beach, and we're going to toss this over to Teo. We want to thank also a bunch of people. And if you like the show, tell your friends to come watch. Tell them to come into here. We have our friend Kim Levesque here from We Insure Insurance, and it's a great opportunity to check out your insurance.
And, it's one of those that was brought up during the break. If you're buying a house and a hurricane is coming, you're kind of screwed on the whole getting insurance if the cone is even close to that.
Well,
and
it's funny you should mention that.
But let's talk about the.
Well, hold on a second, because our friend Colt here is going to. When you see this on the screen, I'm not joking. The storm is coming. Return to your homes. Flip it around, sir. And of course, my motto every day, good morning, don't be a shitty person. We have all these shirts here that are available at the Apollo Beach Co-op.
Yep.
And of course, we have our Fearless Leader shirt here. You too can be like Captain Teo. And of course, Apollo Beach. A
bunch of fun AI stuff. So a bunch of shirts. They're going to be at the co-op, and money goes to the co-op to help Cassie and the crew over there keep fresh fruits and vegetables and stuff, and help out our community, because they were instrumental after the hurricane of feeding a whole bunch of people. So,
and people ask us for the shirts where we can get them. Well, you know what? You can get them there. You can also buy lettuce and corn and apples and all sorts of stuff that you need.
Absolutely.
Now that going to that point, what do you need to buy before it's too late?
So I'm going to tell you, step one, everybody, if you have not put up your shutters, if you bought a house and you're in Covington or Waterset or any of these other neighborhoods and you haven't put up your shutters, freaking just go do it now and pick up the extra wing nuts and the other stuff. So I have always maintained a huge bin of extra hurricane shutter parts. I'm now probably short because I gave away so many parts. I know Howard has some. But
I stashed his.
But we gave, everyone was posting, hey, where do I'm like, okay, I got an extra one. So I gave around bags of that stuff because I always have a couple hundred extra just in case. It's the Boy Scout thing.
It's really nothing.
It's nothing. It was like 30, 40 bucks.
And a half of parts.
But
you
can't,
think about it.
But if you don't have that stuff, you're screwed. And make a map, mark on them with a marker. And by the way, every year that marker fades at Sharpie, even though you think you have it really well marked, that damn thing fades.
Rewrite it.
So rewrite it.
So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you guys know anybody that does permanent shutters?
I've met a few, and I'm actually looking to get that possibly done to the house. But from what I've researched,
Same here.
It
Let's
is
get a group buy
actually
going.
it's actually more cost efficient to hire a sub company if they show up at that point, because the prices now they're
we
crazy.
did that for my business partner. So my business partner had the house across the street. He lived in England and Thailand and Spain. And so this was just a vacation home that he was here a couple weeks a year for. And this was 20 years or 15, 16 years ago, like 2008, 2009. And it was 38 grand. And we shopped everybody.
It's a lot of money.
It was 38 grand to hit a button and put the shutters down and put them up.
Wow.
Versus mine was like 4 grand and, we put them up. I have a single story home. Mine's pretty easy. It's harder now.
Mine are horrendous.
Being sick. Yours are a nightmare. But
You've
what's your guy? How much? What's he want? $200-300 bucks?
It's $200-300 every time.
Do you guys? Are you using the? Do you have the metal or the vinyl?
I have metal.
So I have metal.
Okay.
And I have galvanized, and it's funny because they waived the cost of galvanized versus aluminum, and aluminum was twice as much. And I was in my 30s at the time, and I'm like, oh, I can lug these, no big deal, right? It's not that heavy. Well, now that I'm 60,
you're not in your 30s.
I'm not in my 30s anymore.
Gotcha.
Those galvanized panels, I can't carry
suck.
10 of them anymore, because I have the big, my back window is 24 feet.
Yeah.
And, they're 7 feet tall. And so I used to be able to carry 8 to 10 of those. Now I can carry 3 or 4, but I get some neighborhood kids. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
The whole process truly blows everybody. And you can't decide 3 hours before the storm you're going to do this. You've got to either commit, you either have to hire somebody or do it a few days early.
But make sure you have all the parts
and pieces
now.
you need
I am
now.
shocked. I was literally shocked after all the people and I have good friends that have watched, the prepare. I go, you should do this. He's like, Teo, I know you're going to be pissed. Do you have any more of those wing nuts? Because, I got
Drill
like
bits.
4 windows yet I can't do, or tap cons or whatever.
The
And I'm
bits.
like, how do you not buy
the 20
that
pack of
stuff?
drill bits?
I buy the 12 packs of the diamond tip tap cons.
So let's get out.
Well, pressure wise, because when you're doing the screenings,
that wing nut bit though specifically for.
There's a long story on that. We'll have to talk about that because
everyone was all sold out. So if you waited too long, just
the spinner piece.
So here's the funny thing is when I hired Rollaway to do my shutters 25 years ago, and they were putting on the wing nuts. I go, dude, you guys are idiots. And so I went, I got a socket, and I ground it.
That's it.
And put it on a bit, and the guys are like, holy shit, I've never seen this.
Yeah.
And then a year later, they're in all the stores, and Rollaway had patented the damn thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you pricks, you stole my idea. Because, maybe someone had invented it before me, but I'm pretty sure I'm the guy, considering all the stuff I've invented. But anyway, those, I made 5 or 6 for people while they were doing that stuff last year, because I'm like, I had a handful of them, and I'm like, I just grabbed some extra sockets.
They're on the shelves right now, full of stock.
And you can buy them, and they're like $8.
Yeah.
And it's worth its weight in gold. But do an inventory, make sure you have the proper shutters and that kind of stuff. The other thing, pull out your generator. It hasn't been fired up for months, and I guarantee 90% of the people didn't add stable to the gas. Okay. And if you don't have plenty of gas cans, gas cans today suck. Okay. They
horrible.
have all that plastic extra shit. Okay. Buy yourself a nice funnel. Okay. And get yourself 5, 6, 7 cans, put them in the shed, put them in your garage. Don't fill them up yet. Now, I fill them up because I got the boat. And so I keep 7 cans full. I add stable when I fill them up. And every week, every other week, I grab 2 more cans and I rotate them. And they used to be numbered, but it's well faded because that Sharpie fades. But I would rotate them, and I have a pattern in the shed. And I didn't have a gas problem. The other thing is beginning June. Yeah, I want to bring up extension cords. So I had an abundance of extension cords for my generator and everything else. So first off, my generator ended up completely underwater. So for those of us in the flood zone, have a plan to keep your generator elevated above the ground, whether it's you pick up 8 or 10 cement blocks and put that thing in front of your garage on top of the blocks. But
you said something very important there. Have a plan. Know somebody if you're going to leave. If you're going to leave, decide when you're going to leave. Category 1, Category 2, Category 3. Make those commitments early for you to decide to leave.
We had talked about this. You guys are like, hey, our bedroom's open if you guys want to leave. And we had talked back and forth. And I will rarely leave.
Yeah.
Milton, even I would have stayed for Milton had I not had a 30 by 34 foot by 8 foot high debris field in my front yard. Because even with the shutters, I wasn't confident that my couch and refrigerator and washer and dryer wasn't going to come through the house at some point in time.
But it happens though.
You know,
it was a war zone here a year ago.
Yeah.
So it's not like these things can't happen.
But normally Milton, I would have stayed. I would have shipped Stacy and Taz off to you guys, etc. And you guys were awesome to come. And we had talked earlier that day.
But we had a plan.
And we knew that if I called, they would come. And so I called and said, come get Stacy. She had just done her chemo, and you guys were there in 5 minutes to grab her and take her. And then I know you're mad because I stayed, but my plan was I had lines run out to the boat. I had a makeshift ladder to get up to the boat with the high tide. You know, I had a rope line hooked up to a cleat so I could climb up. But, you know, buy the stuff that you need. The other thing, I was shocked at how many freaking batteries we went through. You know, we didn't have power for a few weeks because all the Powell Beach in my area, we were underwater, which meant all the little power distribution blocks are underwater. So even though they could turn the power back on, they wouldn't turn the power back on until they rebuilt those power things because they were all wet. So they had to go street by street and rebuild all those. So we lived on pop-up lights and stuff like that, even with the generator, because the generator didn't go. So batteries, gas,
chargers, even a little jump boxes. These little jump boxes nowadays are kick ass. You can't go wrong having one of those.
My Halo, I have a Halo, and I think it was like $200. And that thing will keep a phone charged for like a week. And you can jumpstart a car with it, and it has a 110 outlet to be able to run like your laptop and stuff like that.
You can get when you don't. When somebody says, "What can I get you?" Something. All these things you're going to use later in life. You don't need to get ice cream, or you don't need to get chocolate. You could get a gas can and thank them 2 years later that I had a gas can in my house.
Right.
And again, they're major essentials.
By the way, a fan. You know, people don't think about it, right? You got a generator, but the generator. You know, I have an 8,500 watt generator, and it won't power the AC. It'll barely power the AC unit in my office. You know, I have a little window unit to do that. And the thing that we didn't think about was we had a bunch of fans that were the tower fans. But they were Florida seal. You know, they were the 3 foot or 4 foot high, but the whole thing is a fan in the motor. Well, those were underwater. And I bought the pedestal fan where it was a base, where then the fan, you know, was that round 20-inch fan or whatever. So now I got 3 of those, and they're just sitting in the attic. You know, and they were like $39, you know, at Walmart or whatever. Because you can't have enough fans to move that stuff around. Shop vac, same thing. And all that stuff you end up you got to think about your garage storage. All my extension cords were on the ground.
Yeah.
So they were all ruined in the salt water.
So we got water you got to get. Batteries.
So water I have 8 cases in the garage.
Rotate.
Now we have a lot of people come over to the house. We constantly are partying and stuff like that, going out on the boat. So what happens is I rotate the waters. So when we'll use a case, I just pick up another one. So I never have to rush when there's a storm coming and everyone's wigging about Winn-Dixie or Publix or Sam's and everything's out of water and toilet paper. I don't have to worry about that. The thing that I forgot about was baby wipes.
Wipes.
In my mind, I always thought when we get wiped by a hurricane, it's no big deal because I'm just going to jump in the pool.
Well,
Well, dude, even with Joey at Pool Kings,
Which
coming over and saving my bacon, it took 3 weeks for me to have water that was clean enough to dare to jump in. And my pool was saved. A lot of people had to drain their pools. And then make sure you have a bucket because you got to flush the toilet.
That's true.
We didn't have water for a long time, so you had to use the bucket from the pool, which was like sewage water anyway, to flush the toilet at the house.
You'd be surprised how many people still don't know that you could do that.
Oh, you give them top flush.
Yeah.
And talking about that, a big shout out to one of our biggest supporters. His birthday today. Big shout out to Pool Kings Joe.
Yeah, happy birthday,
Happy
Joe.
birthday, Joey. Happy 41th birthday.
During the hurricane,
And,
Teo went from tall, dark, and handsome to soiled and damp.
So long hair hippie.
Dude, but baby wipes, man, those shower wipes and stuff, those man, somebody dropped off a bunch of baby wipes. I'm like, oh my God, this feels so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know,
propane for the
Propane.
grill.
propane.
For the grill.
I keep that full.
But I don't think they would work without power, though. Right?
That's the problem. That's the problem. The bidets are out.
So get some parts and pieces. Walk around your house. Pull your shutters out. Make sure you have all the parts and pieces, the holes in the walls that make sure they're secure in there. That make sure that you your house. Make sure when you go shopping, you buy some certain things. Have your roof checked, and we're going to go over to
Yeah.
John Starr
So
for
John,
that.
what about the roof checking
Now, this
thing?
part of the show is going to go to the guys that actually clean up the mess afterwards. This is John Starry, that for 5 days after one of the worst hurricanes in the area had no telecommunications, and this guy is up like 18 hours a day.
So I'll just touch on a couple of little tips, right?
Keep the mic
Get
close.
that mic closer.
One thing that a lot of people didn't have after the hurricane, right, was
Even closer.
internet connectivity.
Right.
So one thing I actually ended up picking up was a Starlink Mini.
There you go.
Those things
I've
are
thought about that. I've really
absolutely-
thought about it. Is it worth it?
They're
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. Now I don't have it active right now,
Okay.
but I got it ready to go in the event. that
Well,
I ever
again,
need
in
it
your
again.
business, you're in a business that
Yeah.
you're not essentially a first responder
But-
in the respect that you're a first responder, but they call you to fix the problems that they have to take care of.
Yeah,
And,
but
and the Starlink's a couple $100, right?
they're $300 right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean,
Great Father's Day gift.
spend some money.
If anyone's
get
watching.
yourself a Starlink for sure.
Or just
Um,
buy some Tesla stock for your father.
But beyond that, though,
Fair to say?
Teo already kind of covered what to kind of like document on the inside, right? But take the same sort of walk outside your home too. Like take a look up at all your soffits, at your gutters and things if you guys have those. Take some street view photos of your home. You know, walk the whole way around the perimeter of your house.
They may not be there.
And if you have a neighbor with a drone, get some drone shots and stuff, right? Like if we get a severe storm, it is not going to look the same after it blows through here. I can almost guarantee you if it's over 5 years old, there's going to be something that gets loosened up,
Dude, when
something gets damaged, whatever.
when I drove from Howard's house to my house, which is about a mile, at 3 a.m. after that storm, I had the spotlights, you know, while I was driving. And it was like a bomb had gone off. I mean, there were trees in the road. There were shingles everywhere. I mean,
Kim, do you
literally,
have
I was
any
worried about
idea-
driving
Really
through that.
seemed
Do you have any idea
But-
how many houses in the area got slammed, like within the South Shore area with some sort of damage? Do you have that kind of statistic yet, or do you, John? I mean, it seemed like virtually
I never
almost
wanna
every
look through
house
that
had
again,
some
man.
sort of damage to it.
Even the new houses had damage. But hey, I want to go back to the gutter thing. You talk about gutters. Something that I do that others don't. And now I live on the water, so I have a seawall.
Mhm.
And I always looked at the seawall from an engineering standpoint is I don't want all this rainwater from the storms to go between my pool, my seawall and build that pressure up. So I put in French drains.
Mhm.
And I am amazed at the places here that don't have French drains
Yeah.
to you know, they just put their gutters into the yard and you have no, I mean, when we have a
Drainage.
hurricane, we might get 2 feet of rain
Mhm.
and
A lot
it's
of
all,
water.
there's a lot of concrete and there's a lot of roof and there ain't a lot of yard,
No, there's not much
And-
absorbing here, man.
you know, it was calf deep when I was during the beginning of Milton, when I went out to the back to go to the hot tub here at Howard's, it was like ankle deep, walking between the two houses.
Yeah, it really was.
So,
And we
the
have
French
we-
drain thing.
Well, actually, we have
for
French
moving
drains
your
on one
waterway.
side. On the other side, it actually broke.
Okay.
And luckily it wasn't on my side. It was the next door neighbor, so it was their responsibility.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing though, like
Thank
as
you.
you're documenting the inside of your house,
But document the outside.
take a look up at your ceilings in every one of those rooms that you're documenting to, and just snap a picture of that. Because you know what? You start missing a roof, you're going to start to realize that there's some leaks and things.
Oh, yeah.
And that's probably a good point, is to check all your roofs, because most people don't realize they have a spot.
Yep.
I had a spot in the guest room for a long time and didn't realize I had a roof leak.
Hairline.
How's this roof doing? Pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Very
would have
good.
went with a different color, but
Dude, I was starstruck when I thought I could move out of my hell and move back down here. You know what it's like.
But last thing I will mention though is, in the event that something severe does happen again, right? Do not let somebody come up to your door and knock on your door and tell you that they can get your roof replaced through insurance and all this. Like, pick up the phone, do your research, and find somebody that you actually want to work with. Contact.
There were some
several
gypsies.
roofers.
Definitely some
Dude,
gypsies.
I got to tell you, when I got my roof replaced, and we hadn't met yet, and most people were straight up, but there were a lot. They're like, well, we'll replace your roof with what insurance? I'm like, I don't have insurance damage. Oh, you will. It'll be covered by insurance. Dude, those people wanted 30, 40 grand to redo my roof with insurance. And yet it was a $20,000 bill.
Those are the people
out
that
of
those
pocket.
houses aren't completed around here.
And all they're doing is ripping people off. And it's the reason why our insurance is through the freaking roof.
And those are probably the people that she probably doesn't really like too much.
Oh, dude, they suck.
But
I mean,
like we are a retail based contractor. We don't really do anything with insurance. I will just say that in the event that you guys do have a severe storm event that impacts your home, contact your insurance carrier. You don't need a contractor to help you along the path of that. Like,
that's a whole nother. We should do a whole nother show on that, because I almost got burned over.
They are going to pay for any kind of damages to your home. You do not need a contractor on your side to kind of help you with that. You can hire somebody like a public adjuster that can actually help with those sorts of things. To the more extreme circumstances, you can hire an actual property attorney. But
talk to a friend first. Talk to somebody.
And by the way, don't
panic.
sign. Do not give your rights to the freaking contractor to do the negotiations and stuff like that. It's, we have the 50-50 rule. So like our damage, I was in a jam because we had put a new roof on before the storm in the same calendar year, which meant that my hurricane damage had to be 20 grand less than what it should have been. I could have fought to get everything covered, but in the end it was right down to, I was down to like $60. And if I gone over, I would have had to tear the house down and, rebuild. So in Florida, and I think it's a lot of places, but I know here in Florida, it applies to our house on Jekyll Island as well, in that if you have 50% or more in improvements or repairs in a calendar year, you have to bring your house up to current code. So for like my house is 7.8 feet. Okay. Now it's the value of the structure. So even though my house is valued at close to $1 million, the structure is only worth, the land is worth like 580 or something like that. But my structure is worth like 310 grand. Not that I could rebuild my house for 310 grand, but that's what the property appraiser says my house is worth, $310,000. And which means I can spend $160,000 in repairing my house. If I spend $161,000, I have to tear my house down, or I have to raise it up 8.5 more feet to meet the current code. And I have to change some electrical and a whole bunch of other stuff. And the estimates for me to replace my house was like 500, like 480.
It sounds like a deal to me.
So
a horrible one.
You're in this realm of, and you talk about the contractor. So I originally talked to a couple contractors, and they go, oh, it'll be $220,000, right? It'll be 25 grand per bathroom. It'll be 100 grand for your kitchen. It'll be, 35,000 for the front door. And, they're taking all this stuff to mark up. I end up doing it almost all myself. right? I used my contacts and friends and everything else. And in the end, it was a little less than what insurance paid. Insurance paid a little less than what
you're able to get done with what less they gave you.
But I would have been upside down 80 grand using a contractor. And in the end, my friends who have whose contractor did all, they had worse experience than I did, hiring people and the subs and all that. So I think find the individual specialties. Now I want to talk about the screens because
we're going to take a break in a sec.
Okay.
But I was going to say one thing. This is a great opportunity to start making the relationships now with the people you're going to need. It may sound crazy, and I know we live in South Shore, but if you don't have a great realtor, you don't know if you might need to leave your house for a few months. You might need someone who does dumpsters. You might need someone to do screens, because guess what? When your house gets mangled, your screens get mangled too. It's all about knowing good local businesses here that you can trust rather than getting hoodwinked. That's what this show has been about. And we're here for our neighborhood. We're going to take a break. We appreciate everyone watching. We're going to get back to John's point in a minute, and then we're going to introduce you to Joe, who is our rescue guy here. And that's our break time. What do you got?
Everybody, this is Howard from South Shore Live, and we've got these fantastic shirts available at the Co-op at Apollo Beach. My slogan, good morning, don't be a shitty person, along with a fantastic logo in the back. We've got 5 or 6 different types, all different colors, and we're keeping it simple. Buy them at the local Co-op, and messages will tell you how to get them. Thanks, everyone. Good morning, don't be a shitty person.
But what we'll do
South
is
Shore, where the sun shines, golf carts roam, and accidents happen. But your roof, that should be the least of your worries. Steadfast Roofing brings you the best roofing systems, providing you protection even against the toughest storms. For a roof that stands strong through anything, choose Steadfast. Get the protection you deserve. Call now for your free inspection.
The Web Design Ninja is your one-stop shop for all things internet. Our dedicated team has been building internet solutions for businesses large and small since 1993. We specialize in creating eye-catching designs, search engine optimization, complex e-commerce, and custom app integration, whether you need a simple website or a complex e-commerce or phone app. Our team of experts is here for you. Give us a call today. We're here to help.
Hey, we're back here, beautiful Apollo Beach, Florida. I'm joined here with Captain Teo, the Hurricane Master. I'm here with John Story from Steadfast Roofing, and of course, Pro Screen Joe here is going to tell you a few things about screens and your frames and all that stuff too. But in the meanwhile, we want to shout out a few people who support the show. That'd be Trish at Pure Romance. Her passion is helping you find your passion. Also, the Flip Flop Show store, Pam rocks. We all rock the UFOs and rock the which ones do you do? The Hey Dudes?
The Hey Dudes. I need to go get some UFOs because I need some better flip-flops.
Also, our friend Jen Budd for keeping the room smelling good with her sensei. We also want to thank our friends Pierre and Ali. Ali is with the Alice Runner Portraits, and of course, Excellence in Digital. Pierre, who does our fantastic web work, and he's just all-around great guy. Also, anyone else we can think about? Taylor, you want to shout out real quick? Joanne Duran, I'll put that out there. JD Coaching and Real Estate Services. Tampa Bay Sports Entertainment magazine, fantastic magazine. If you would like to advertise in there, reach out to Joanne Duran.
And of course, Illusion Vodka. We got it. We get in the habit.
Shout out to Bob.
Yeah, Bob is great. I think they're coming on the boat tomorrow, so that's good
for you. We have a hat for him.
Yeah,
it is.
There you go. So, hey, we want to talk about the screens. Okay, now, before we get into that detail, so when Milton was coming, the folks, this is long before we met, my screen room people have done my screen room for, I don't know, I guess 25, 26 years. Yeah. And they're in Central Florida, right? So they're like 2 hours away. And Christine called me and goes, Teo, you guys have been through a lot. I'm going to tell you a trick on, here's how I think you can save your screen room. One, double check and make sure you place tap cons on the bottom, which I do every 5 years. Should we do it sooner or not? I think a lot of people don't think about that.
5 years is good. 5 years is
everything
good.
rots here though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the tap cons on the base of the 1x2,
right,
that secure the whole cage to the actual
right. And I also
pad.
have some of those wire cables, that go down well into the garage and in the ground, and they're tap con, and those are tap con into the concrete.
And a lot of people don't think that
you got to think about digging that out.
They have to be usable.
To re-screw or re-bolt those in to that concrete.
Don't think about the tap cons. They worry about the screen and the screen only.
Right.
But little do they know, if that cage isn't secured properly to the foundation, you're not going to have any screens. You're not going to have any cage.
Yep.
Do you put up shutters?
I put up shutters. Yes.
So
there
this
you go.
Is somebody that you can hire to put up the shutters, and you just go like this and pay your bill.
Yeah. Well, normally whenever we do a shutter job, we're going to check if you do have an lanai, and we're going to check all the tap cons on that. We're going to check the screens, make sure everything is, as it should be.
So for Milton, what I did now, and I didn't talk about this on Facebook because I figured people would get really batshit crazy if then the storm missed us and they didn't have to do it. But what I ended up doing was all my tap cons have been freshly done. I actually do them on a regular basis.
Very important.
Every 5 years. So, and half the time I can't even unscrew the old ones. So I just put them in side by side. We actually did that when you did you just redid my front porch. And I'm like, don't drill that out. Just add another one. We got 40 years before I have to worry about, running out of space. But the other thing I did, so I just grabbed needle nose pliers and I pull on the sides. I pull all of them on the sides. I pull the side and the bottom of the splines.
Yes.
And if I figure if they blow through, they blow through. If not, I can have you come over and respline them. That actually saved my screen room. Everybody else who didn't do that lost their screen room. And I have a covered screen room as well as a regular screen room. So I have about a 1,200 square foot bar. And I mean, that's a good size bar that's under roof. And everyone else that had the solid roof, they lost it completely. Yep. And you were over at my neighbor's who his whole roof peeled back because of the super gutter, and it ripped the whole back of his freaking house apart. Wow. And his roof was in the cul-de-sac upside down with sheetrock and the ceiling fans spinning slowly at 3 a.m. in the remaining wind.
Little known fact: if your neighbor would have had his roof replaced by us before that storm came, it would have blown it right the hell back in the water, man.
There you go.
Right there.
Just that simple.
We would
Exactly.
have all been saved.
So again, you offer that service that somebody now. I was going to ask you. Obviously, there's different levels of concern. Some people say as soon as they hear the word hurricane, they're all going to die, and they don't know what to do. This is about hurricane preparedness. We're going to go over what you should buy before the show ends. We're going to throw our 2 cents in. But when it comes to you, what is the, and you too, what is the warning call for you? Is it a hurricane 1? It's just things can happen. But when should you really say, you know what, my shutters are going up?
If it's supposed to be a 3, I'm gonna put them up.
A 3's for you?
Absolutely.
3's for you?
3 or better.
3 or better, that's the number.
I'm at the same. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. This is our disclaimer. You know, if
I'm a 4, by the way.
If you want it, well, actually, you didn't even want to put yours up for Milton, and
Nothing
thank God
happens
you
if I was
did,
picking out your
because
car.
frickin' I caught your damn thing and ended up in a nut hugger tree hold at 1 a.m. Trying to save it, one of his shutters. So one of his shutters,
The one shutter just ripped
at
right
like 1 a.m. ripped completely out of the studs and everything, and I'm like, what the hell is that noise? And so I come out, and Stacy gone to bed, and Joanne and Howard were in the living room.
We're like, let's check this out.
And I'm like, oh, I check it out, and I hear this flapping, and I'm there, and Joanne's like, what the hell? Where'd Teo go? Well, he went outside a couple minutes ago. I'm outside impaled on a fucking tree, holding a shutter
110 miles an
because
hour.
I'm wedged. It was 134 mile an hour winds, and I'm holding this shutter, and I'm pinned against the damn tree because I can't do anything because I'm just like, I'm holding this freaking sail,
And we got to tear this thing off.
and I'm like, okay, now we got to move it and bring it into the house because I don't want it to rip up Stacy's car because I'm like, we lost all the other cars.
When your house sounds like an old horror movie, you know things are happening.
Oh,
Clank,
man.
clank, clank. That's a dead giveaway. You're going to have some issues. When that house is howling and you hear things slamming, solar panels, and you hear...
hey,
Speaking of that, we didn't touch base on, securing your loose items outside.
There you
guys.
go.
dude,
It's
I
so
watched
very
a potted
important.
plant go through a wall.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, not this time, but years ago.
And you have to
when
your
I was in
neighbors, too.
when I was in Florida, I watched a potted plant and a coconut. Right, I was in Miami area, and we watched the coconut go through a cinder block wall house.
Wow.
Like a freaking, it's like a
Yep.
fucking cannonball. Pardon my language. I watched the coconut go through an 8-inch cinder block wall, stucco with the wire mesh and everything. It went completely through the wall.
Most of my
coconut.
most of my screen damage repairs
Oh.
from the hurricane were from shingles.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Tearing
All
through.
the shingles just slicing right through.
That's what happened with my neighbors.
That's what happened here.
My neighbors, every screen in mine was destroyed. Every screen in my screen room was destroyed. And most of them were, and the ones that were the worst were the ones where the shingles from my neighbor's house came off, as well as, and then in the middle of my pool area where his oak tree came down because he doesn't trim his trees, which, by the way, dude, trim your freaking trees.
Yep.
Have respect for your neighbors,
Well, I was
okay?
gonna
If
mention
you don't
that.
give a shit about your stuff, at least don't screw with your neighbors, because when your neighbor's tree comes through your yard and your screen room or your window, it's your tree now.
Yep.
It's
You know,
not your neighbor's.
Just because you leave your house doesn't mean that you leave your shit to ruin other people's houses.
You know,
You can put your shutters up, but please take some of your stuff in, because there's been instances which even I and other people have had to go and pick up other people's things, because if not, they're going to go careening towards my house.
well, when I stayed for Irma and everyone else left, there were just a handful of us in Apollo Beach, and that's when we walked all the way to Beer Can Island, right? Because it sucked all the water out of the bay.
Walk to Beer Can.
We walked to Beer Can Island. We put an extension ladder down my back, my seawall to get down to my dock, because
Very
my
cool.
dock was on the ground, and we grabbed a couple cigars and a flask, and we walked all the way to Beer Can Island.
That's
I wore water shoes because I was amazed at the batteries. right? As you're walking there along the channel, you know, you come out from my backyard and then you go along and you got fins and circles and Bal Harbor. You could walk, we walked all through that and it was only like an inch or two of water. And there's like all these batteries where people are like changing the batteries in their boat, said, fuck that, I'm not returning it. And they drop it in the water. But we walked all the way to Beer Can Island. I found like 15 cell phones. Just
sure
in the
some
dirt.
stuff in the dirt.
And
Hats.
there was everything. There was
my
everything.
gosh.
We found towels. I had a couple towels that I had lost years ago that we found in the bottom of the canal. And I'm like, oh, that was at Ralph Lauren. You know, I knew it was on the back of it. You know, I probably had it on the back of the chair on the dock and it blew away. But yeah, during Irma, we walked all the way out to Beer Can Island. And the worst it got was up to the bottom of my calf. But the water sucked out and came back. Well, I stayed and I was doing updates. So afterwards I would drive through the neighborhood. And the rule of the thumb was if you had a white fence, you know, the white plastic
PVC
fences, you got to replace your fence. And if your neighbor was an asshole and left their garbage out, their garbage was all over your yard and probably tore through your screen room. And if they left potted plants and like, you know, the pretty little crab trap or Apollo Beach sign and shit that's not nailed down, that shit was everywhere. But, you know, and we kind of dodged that, but Milton was a whole nother can of worms. So, that, I mean, there were roofs in the streets, you know, entire roofs, you know, rafters and all. And you saw that, but,
well, since you were talking about your neighbor not trimming their tree, I'd
Yeah.
like to actually throw a shout out to you guys' latest channel sponsor, the Lawnmower 5.0 by Manscaped. So, totally kidding.
All right.
But,
We'll pick up any sponsor we can.
Yeah.
Joanne and Tampa Bay Sports Entertainment Magazine. Reach out to that sponsor possibility.
Back to the tree thing real quick.
Yeah.
So believe it or not, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, as long as, even if it's your neighbor's tree, as long as anything is encroaching on your property,
Big word.
you have the right to
You
take
you
off
can cut it.
just
You
what's on
you
your property.
you
So
can
let's
cut
all, let's all keep that in mind, okay? Now, obviously, we want to be respectful and neighborly first, right? Hey, you're
define
you know,
that.
well,
Because I've
neighborly-
lost 14 sprinklers from my
Easy,
neighborhood.
Jim.
I just
Just
don't
a
care
simple
about them
knock on
anymore.
the
And I don't care.
Hopefully, a knock on the door. And
Yeah.
hello, you know, your tree, you know,
In a
Hey.
perfect
you know,
world.
could possibly cause damage, this and that. Would you mind if I take this limb down?
Of course we do.
You know?
We hate you.
And then, yeah, see,
That's
Right
that's
there.
the answer I got for mine.
there you go.
I cut it anyway.
I was there, too.
Well, then, you know, and then at that point, you have to take it within yourself and decide, well, you know what?
I
The
hate you
neighbor's
too.
not going to do it. Now I have to assume
Take it
some
upon yourself.
responsibility.
And that cost me
And-
that cost me a huge chunk of the roof. John and I were talking before the show. We had seen each other because he was over dealing with some of my other neighbors, and I'm on the roof, and it was funny because I'm removing these limbs that were on my you know, and they were big ass limbs. I mean, they're 1.5 feet in diameter, and they ended up doing massive damage to my roof.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
and I didn't see it until the rain came, and I noticed the spots in the ceiling and on the wall. I'm like, this is weird. Where'd this come from? And I go out and I look, the roof looked good. And I had the person that put my roof in, and he comes out and he's like, dude, you need 3 new sheets of ply. We got to peel all this back and do it. And he showed, I'm like, holy crap. Had I walked like another inch when I was on the roof, when I was talking to John, yelling down in his car, in his truck. And I'm like, had I walked another inch, I would have gone right through the roof. Because there was a huge hole. I mean, it was massive. The
There was a
damage
massive
that
one
those
in the
things
VA,
done.
One of the VA buildings in Brandon that I had the pleasure to actually remove, crashed right through the center of the whole entire building, just destroyed so much of it. It was salvageable, but yeah, my crew and I, we were able to get that removed.
John, how many times have you seen damage? So mine was weird because, like, until you went up on the roof and actually looked, you know, to like feel and touch the shingles, if I was just walking it, I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
Is that something to be concerned? It's probably to be concerned about.
You should be
I saw
working
the
on your roof
hole.
at this point.
It's not typical, man.
Okay.
Normally, whenever a tree hits, it's going to go the whole way through the decking of the roof. And It's going to be very visible. From
Yeah.
But man, I got to give it to this guy. Like, he was up there lifting these limbs up. He had like one over each shoulder, man. I was like, dude, Those things are huge, man. This guy is.
No, he's a do-it-yourself.
Without a
Dude.
doubt. How can people get a hold of you, Joe?
You can reach me 2 different numbers. My regular work line 727-295-8592.
And even though
Facebook?
you're 727, you're South
Facebook.
Shore. You're local South Shore. You're
Yeah.
not Pinellas. You just have
I'm
a
not
Pinellas
Pinellas,
number.
I was one of the
Yeah.
lucky ones to
Hey,
get
I'm
a
not
Pinellas
Pinellas. I'm
number,
Hillsboro.
so-
Yo.
But yeah, you can reach me on. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. I believe I have a TikTok. I should use it a little more, but
Okay.
you can find us on TikTok, and we're honestly throughout the whole community. There's so many different businesses that know about us, and friends and family. Just ask around. Somebody knows Total Pressure.
And by the way, call Howard
call
or,
Howard.
or
Or
myself. I got in there. You know, he came over and redid my my front entryway. We
Yep.
waited till the last possible minute because I thought we might have to replace the door. So I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to have to rip that screen out. Joe came over and added a kick plate so the mulch wouldn't get into the front entryway, which made my wife very, very happy. Joe suggested, hey, we should do this so the mulch doesn't come in. We
Yeah,
can just
yeah.
move this window down. I'm like, oh, beautiful.
You know, a disclaimer, I've used his services. I've reached out and used and recommended his services as well. Both of these guys are qualified, licensed, insured local businesses. You should meet some of these people now. Hopefully, you'll never have to use them. But if you have to use them, have a relationship with somebody who is a competent contractor. I hate to say this, guys, too, and I love to say it. South Shore Cleaning and Supply. Guess what our van does? It sucks water out. A lot of water.
Dude, and you
It'll
guys were great.
suck.
You guys came over the day after and
Charge
sucked
nothing during
all
bad
that stuff
times.
out, man.
We are here for our community. We do it. We do not live off people's pain. At that point, once they want to become civilized, if they want to bring us back in to finish and do the work, but in the meanwhile, they've got stuff to do. We do the best that we can. And South Shore Cleaning and Supply, we suck. And big shout out to my boys running that business.
Yep.
And some other businesses, your insurance person, your real estate person, your roofing person, your gutter person, your screen person. Who else can you think about? Who else is pivotal in that moment? A moving person,
Possible
Yeah.
landscaper. For
landscaper.
You know, hey, I want to bring up one last thing
Go right ahead.
before we close up. I want to bring up the money aspect. Okay.
right.
Now, I have always, I'm very budget oriented. Okay. So I always try to maintain like around 30K in a slush fund.
Well, they say 6 months emergency.
For having a hurricane deal, right? So when I did my seawall, I'm like, ooh, I got down to 28 grand after I did my seawall, and I'm like, okay, I got to build that up. So I had over 30 grand in my slush fund, emergency fund savings account. Okay. I have insurance and I have a $50,000 HELOC, which had, I don't know, a couple $1,000 on it. And I do that just to keep it active, you know, so I'll like, oh, I'm going to remodel, I'm going to buy something for the house. Right. So I put it, $2 grand on the HELOC and then pay it off. Cause it's whatever, 5% or something, right? No big deal. Here's something I didn't think about. All right. Is we had, in the end, we had 250,000 plus worth of damage to our house and property. Okay.
It's a big number.
Dude.
And that's what I paid out of pocket. Okay. Now, insurance, we finally got our last insurance check like a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. It's kind of blurred. But anyway, we originally all we got was 13 grand. So when the storm hit, they're like, oh, let's give you some money to get started. They give us 13 grand. Okay. The remediation to come in and cut the walls and turn the fans on and spray for mold, etc., was 14 grand. So I was a grand upside down day one. I'm like, I have a HELOC, right? A home equity line of credit. I have a minuscule mortgage. Okay. We had a $20,000 mortgage on our house. So I'm very budget oriented, right? I could have bought a much nicer house or whatever, but I'm not that person. I'm comfortable. So I'm like, hey, when the shit hits the fan, I'll just take 50 grand out of my line of credit and start rebuilding. Lo and behold, I find out that because my HELOC is a home equity line of credit,
Based.
and I have damage to my home, I don't have a home equity line of credit.
Wow.
I can't touch it
That's wild.
to rebuild my house.
That's wild.
On top of that, insurance, they cut me the 13 grand. I don't get that check. That check is made out to
Your HELOC.
my HELOC and my $20,000 mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the two banks are fighting over who's going to control the rebuilding of my property,
Because you have a small mortgage on the house.
right? So the HELOC goes, well, I got 50 grand, and that's bigger than a $20,000 mortgage. But the mortgage company goes, well, I'm the first and you're the second. So it took weeks of fighting with the two banks to get to my $13,000 so I could pay my Phoenix Properties, who did all my demo and the mold remediation and the dry out stuff, right? So then I get my original estimate for like 60 grand to rebuild my house. And then they cut a check for like $15,000 for like 25% of that against the 13 grand. And then I have the same problem, right? Well, then the mortgage company, so in the end, it turns out the mortgage company is the controller. And our mortgage gets sold every year, so it's currently with PNC. Well, PNC goes, well, you have to show that you've done 50% of your $140,000 worth of repairs before we're going to give you this $15,000. Yeah. And so the insurance takes months and months and months to get your money, and I can't use my HELOC. I now have $15,000. I now have $28,000 at the bank in an escrow account, but they won't let me have it until I can prove that I've done 50% of the repairs. And what the hell determines 50% of repairs? Drywall, a kitchen, doors? I don't know. Then we finally got our rest of our check for, our $134,000. And that is held up until we're complete. So if you don't have the cash, so I had the Corvette, which was well insured, and my Harley and the cars. And fortunately, we have a car. We had that Dodge minivan that we keep at our vacation home. So I used that and the money from the car insurance and my savings and business and everything else. We were able to do that. But I have friends that still have they still have, all this money is tied up at their mortgage company, and they can't get a freaking check because they have to show that they've completed all the repairs.
Yeah.
And folks, if you're living month to month, I feel your pain. I got really lucky with how all this stuff panned out, but I could see how 5 years ago, I still would be struggling to figure out how to complete this because the mortgage companies are assholes. And it's ridiculous.
Look at their house
because,
and look at your house. Look at the insurance company's buildings and look at your house. Look at the casinos and look at your house. Look who's the winner most of the time and look who's the loser. Hate to say that, guys, but their house is worth $50 million and yours is worth 325. It's just the way that
so
it is.
You know what I learned, my takeaway from this is I have a HELOC. If there's another storm like Milton Helene that's going to happen, I'll go on my damn app and I'll transfer that
over.
$50K HELOC into my savings account. And then if nothing happens, I'll transfer it back and it costs me $100 or $200 a day. Whatever the insurance is, whatever the interest is for a day, screw it. But I was shocked that you have a HELOC loan. And now not all banks do this, but a bunch of them did. And I heard this story from a lot of people. So if you have my advice, and again, full disclosure, disclaimer, don't blame me or whatever. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to max that HELOC and throw it into savings the day of a freaking storm.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
And then I'll move it back the next day, because that would have made life so much easier in the grand scheme of things. And on top of that, not only do you have a HELOC that you can't use, they're controlling the money that insurance gives you to rebuild your house.
Well, on top of it too, it also, because you're open to that credit, you can't open more credit because you still are owing to that, even though you can't even access it. It limits your credit ability.
Oh yeah. Hey, by the way, let's talk about that real quick on credit, and then we can wrap it up. So we had to basically rebuild our entire house, right? And we had to refurnish the house. So everything from the waist down was gone. So all new furniture, all new appliances, and all the stuff you don't think about. So like I unplugged my laptop, my computer cases, and I put them up on. And normally I put them on the fridge. I'll never do that again because the fridge floated and tipped over. But I had actually put them on the oven, which was a smart move, in a waterproof bag, and in a tub. For whatever reason, the fridge didn't float and flip over, or the oven didn't float and flip over, but the refrigerator did. All those cords, and here in the studio I point, but no one else does. So I had unplugged, the HDMI and that kind of stuff from the computer. But in the end, once I got power back, I couldn't put my computer back together because all those cords, and then all the power cords for my monitors. I have 6 monitors on my computer, me being a web guy. I had to find all new power cords for the monitors because they were all in salt water, so they were all shot. And we had TVs that were on the wall where the cords came down, but the end of the cords were in the salt water, and that salt sucked right up in there and fried the TVs. And so that's all stuff you don't think about. We'll talk about that if a storm comes, etc. But
I'd like to do a little review here real quick.
Yeah.
Number 1, take a video inside your house, outside your house, and most importantly, open the drawers. Take a look at each room. Take detail. It's not like you got to take pictures. You got a camera on your phone. It's all free nowadays. Number 2, you got a ditch bag. What's that? Clothes, your medicine, your documents.
Oh yeah, medicine.
Phone, some battery chargers, batteries, cash. Yes, Joanne? A hard drive, if you can back it up, throw it in there because you may not be home for a few days.
I actually pulled the hard drives out of my computers.
There you go.
And those go in a separate waterproof container.
Number 3.
In a waterproof container. In a waterproof container.
Number 3.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Tissue test. We should talk about that.
Number 3. We'll get to that in a sec if you want. Pre-buy some stuff. Pre-buy a gas can. Pre-buy water. Pre-buy batteries. Pre-buy a charger. Pre-buy yourself. Well, not particularly. LED lights, fans, Ziploc bags, baby wipes, tape. What else do we have here?
Heavy duty garbage bags,
trash bags.
A lot of us will have like the light duty lawn and leaf bags or whatever.
Bags.
Dude, man, those contractor bags, and they'll last like 20 years, man. Just buy a box at Sam's and freaking throw them on there. And those
radio.
Those pop-up
Remember we
ladders.
talked about that?
Yeah.
A radio, flashlights, gas, propane, and tape. These are things that you should be buying now when you're going to the store. We'll make a list of them. Joanne, what do you got? You're pointing like Dio. If you can do that too.
So here's what I do on food.
So
here's what I do on food is I'll buy at the beginning of hurricane season, I'll go to like Sam's or whatever, and I'll buy, and I don't eat pasta, but it's easy to make, right? So I'll buy a bunch of pasta sauce. I actually get the Hunt's. It used to be 10 for $10 at Winn-Dixie. Now it's like 7 for $10 on sale. But I buy that, have the can opener, and then I buy like the canned ravioli. Dude, you have no clue how good that is on the little camp stove. I got that little propane, that little butane stove.
Raviolis.
Oh yeah. Now I buy all that, and if at the end of the season I don't use it, I also do like red beans and rice and stuff like that. At the end of the season, if I don't use it, I just donate it to the food shelf. Like, Meet Me in the Street Ministries or any of the food shelves there, St. Paul or St. John de Vincent, whatever that is in Ruskin. You drop it by, donate to the food shelf. I can't tell you what a lifesaver making that stuff was there. The other thing is, man, make sure you have cash. We ran in. I always pull a couple grand out and just keep it in the safe. at the beginning. And by the way, safes are not waterproof.
We learned that the hard way.
As Joanne learned, because she was like spreading all my money out that was in the waterproof safe.
Teo's life was on my pool table.
Oh yeah,
Your entire life.
the watches, the jewelry, all that kind of
Pocket
stuff.
knives, watch, any just amazing pictures. But
So here's the deal. They talk about dishwashers being waterproof,
that one's floating down the street.
But I'm going to tell you this, is my Cutco knives were in the dishwasher. Okay. And you guys probably saw the pictures because I posted these. So I took, after the storm, I pulled out the dirty dishes in the dishwasher, and I'm like, oh, the Cutco knives and stuff, right? And they're like $75 a knife.
No joke.
And so I had a big bucket of salt away because, I flush my engine with salt away all the time. So I have like multiple, jugs of that. So I mix that with salt away. So I took all the silverware, including the Cutco knives, and rinsed them off, and then soaked them in a bucket of salt away for a day, and then rinsed them off, and then put them away in tubs. As I'm moving back in the house, I'm unpacking this. My Cutco knives, which were in the dishwasher, surgical stainless steel, right, were completely rusted, corroded, and disgusting. Now, Cutco's replacing them. I got to send them in. I keep forgetting to do that. I have to stack them. So the answer is the dishwasher waterproof? Fuck no.
All right, everybody. So again, the biggest thing that we can tell you is to make a plan. Decide to stay, decide to go, choose early, choose wisely. And when you hire people, make sure you choose good local contractors.
And hey, by the way, keep your cars filled up with gas.
Yeah.
I know there's always these people
Buy
that
gas.
like these people that
keep your tank in half.
Keep your they run it all the way down to fumes. Don't do
Holy
that, man.
cow.
Keep it, if you get half, fill it up. Keep it topped off, because there is no gas after a storm. And I cannot tell enough people. I was shocked at the people that were like, I can't get to work. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm like, I don't have a gas can. I'm like, how do you not have
How is this not possible?
5 or 6 gas cans and just fill it? Add some Stable. By the way, you can get Stable. You can get it at Walmart or Thompson's Auto or Aqua Auto. Now it is.
You can have an Amazon in your house.
Anyway, and add a little Stable to the gas. It'll last for a year or two with Stable in it. So
we're going to wrap it up, and we'll see you next week. And then a little programming note. We're going to take a little break for about 2 weeks, come back for 2 weeks, and we're going to take a little break for about 2 weeks, and then we're on for the summertime. We're here one more week, I think, next week. We have some people coming in. We have Chris coming in from Streetwear.
Yeah.
And we have a few other people. Please make sure you tell people to like the page, to like our show. If you do like it, if you'd like to come on about your local business or an event you have going on, please reach out to Teo, myself. We want to thank John for coming on the show. Our friend Joe, which is his 5th appearance, ladies and gentlemen. There you go, Kim. Cole, the quiet, strong, quiet one. He's playing Sergeant of Arms. And we appreciate it. The shirts are available at the Co-op. Teo, thank you for your business.
Thank
and your
you
time.
guys, man, everybody.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. Thank you, South Shore. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you. And the 5 people who are currently watching that it says on the start, thank you. And thank you for Charlie. Thank you, everyone. And we will see you next week.
You
Go
got
Bucks.
it. See you, bye.
Yay?
Yay.
Happy yay?